Hey everybody, so yesterday was obviously a huge day in the NHL with the first round of the NHL Draft, but it also was a huge day because of the trades that took place. We saw numerous big trades happen yesterday during the day prior to the draft, and I just want to go through and kind of recap those deals and give a quick opinion on them because I wasn't able to do that yesterday. So let's take a look here at all the trades that happened yesterday and go through and recap them a little bit. Before we begin, I just ask that you please hit that thumbs up and subscribe. It helps the channel so much and is greatly appreciated, but let's get into it. So the first of the big deals that took place, or the first deal that took place, was Rasmus Ristolainen going to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for Robert Hägg, a 2021 first-round pick, which ended up being pick number 14 last night, and a 2023 second-round pick. So Philadelphia gives up a depth defenseman in Robert Hägg, a top 15 draft pick, and a 2023 second-round pick for Rasmus Ristolainen. This is a really interesting one. We know that Philadelphia was trying to improve their D this offseason, but they're going to need Rasmus Ristolainen to be a heck of a lot better than he has been at any point in his career for this trade to make sense for Philadelphia. I personally would not have given up a first-round pick for Rasmus Ristolainen. His analytics are horrendous. His numbers are horrendous. His eye test is horrendous. But he's played his entire career with the Buffalo Sabres. And the big question I have is Rasmus Ristolainen struggles to this point in his career, how much of that is him not being good, and how much of that is him playing on the worst team in the league and a team that's been terrible for his entire career there? That is the big question here. If the Philadelphia Flyers get the same Rasmus Ristolainen that's been playing in Buffalo for the last number of years, and he ends up minus 25 this season, this is a terrible trade for Philadelphia. If Rasmus Ristolainen can get his game together and look a lot better in Philadelphia now that he is finally out of Buffalo, then this could end up being okay for Philly, but this is a very risky trade for the Philadelphia Flyers. They have to hope that Rasmus Ristolainen gets a lot better now that he's not with the Buffalo Sabres anymore. Because to this point in his career, Ristolainen has not been good. He's been a huge disappointment, massively overrated to this point. Maybe getting out of Buffalo is exactly what he needed. That seems to be exactly what a lot of players need when they leave Buffalo, but Philly needs him to step his game up to make this a worthwhile trade. I will say this, it's a huge opportunity for Rasmus Ristolainen. He's got to take advantage of it. He's played with the Sabres his entire career. They've stunk his entire career. He now finally gets a chance to go to a much better, much more talented overall team in Philadelphia. He has to make the most of that and get his career on the right track. If he doesn't, that's going to be a problem because Philly gave up a lot to get him. I do not like giving up that first-round pick in this, but we'll see how it works out. This is going to be a very interesting trade to watch how it works out over the next year. I can't wait to see what Risto looks like in a different uniform and see if he can get his game on track in Philadelphia. But Flyers fans better be hoping that he does, because if they get the same Rasmus Ristolainen that we've been watching for the past, five years, this is going to come back and bite Philly. But we'll see what happens. The next trade was Pavel Buchnevich getting traded to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for Sammy Blais and a second-round pick going back to the New York Rangers. And I absolutely love this deal for the St. Louis Blues. I mean, Buchnevich is a legitimate top six right wing who had 48 points last season, I believe, a really strong year last year. And all they give up is a third-line forward in Sammy Blais and a second-round pick for the Blues to get Buchnevich without giving up a top prospect or a first-round pick, that is an absolute win for St. Louis. I love this deal. Love this deal for the Blues. For the Rangers, man, I thought they'd be able to get more for Buchnevich. I mean, he is a high-end, legitimate right winger that can play first-line minutes in a first-line role. And to only get Sammy Blais, who's kind of always been middle six, I think he's a third-liner personally, and a second-round pick, I mean, that's not a big return for Pavel Buchnevich. So absolutely love this move for the Blues. Thought the Rangers should have gotten more for him. But St. Louis, great trade here for Doug Armstrong and the Blues. Next, we had a massive deal between the Vancouver Canucks and Arizona Coyotes. Arizona continues to be the new bank of the NHL as they take on terrible contracts to also acquire draft picks. And they sent Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for Antoine Roussel, Jay Beagle, Louis Eriksson, a 2021 first-round pick, which was 9th overall in this draft, a second-round pick in 2022, and a 7th-round pick in 2023. So they get 3 picks and 3 bad contracts from Vancouver, and they send out Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland. So obviously for Arizona, the big draw to do this deal was that 9th overall pick. They also got Oliver Ekman-Larsson out of Arizona, which is a win in itself. For Vancouver, I mean, I love Connor Garland. I actually wanted Boston to be in on Garland, but Oliver Ekman-Larsson is an absolute shell of his former self. I wouldn't expect much from him with the Vancouver Canucks. And again, another offensive defenseman who struggles in his own zone, and Vancouver seems to have too many of those. But anyway, I do like the Connor Garland get for Vancouver. But I think the big thing here for the Canucks is that they got Roussel's contract, Beagle's contract, and Eriksson's contract all off the books at the same time. And salary cap space is at an absolute premium for the Vancouver Canucks with the RFAs that they have. Getting those 3 guys off the books is huge for Vancouver. Now, they did take on Ekman-Larsson's contract, which is a pretty big one, and there was salary retained, but I think it was only like 12%. So it's still a pretty hefty contract for Ekman-Larsson, but they do gain cap space by getting Roussel, Beagle, and Eriksson out of there. So I like the Garland pickup for Vancouver. Ekman-Larsson, they obviously had to take on to get this deal done. For Arizona, they're continuing to do like they did with the Islanders, like they did with the Flyers. They're taking on bad contracts to also get picks out of it. And of course, the big pick that Arizona got and was 9th overall that was used last night. So that deal was between Vancouver and Arizona. And then we got another massive one right before the draft. And boy, oh boy, what is Chicago doing? This is the worst trade I have seen in a while. And not just the trade, but when you add the reported contract for Seth Jones on top of it. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Chicago acquires Seth Jones, the 32nd overall pick last night, and a 6th-round pick in 2022 from the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange for Adam Boqvist, who's a defenseman. I don't know why TSN has him listed as a forward, but Adam Boqvist is a defenseman. A 2021 first-round pick, which was 12th overall, a 2021 second-round pick, and another first-round pick in 2022. So Chicago gives up 2 first-round picks, a young defenseman, and a second-round pick for Seth Jones in a late first-round pick and a 6th-round pick. All right, Seth Jones is 26 years old. Seth Jones had a 57-point season 4 seasons ago and looked like he could be a future Norris candidate. Seth Jones has gone straight downhill every single year since that 57-point season. He has gotten worse and worse. His numbers have gone down. His overall play has declined significantly. His trajectory is straight down. And then, if the trade isn't bad enough, you add in that Chicago is going to give him an 8-year contract extension at $9.5 million. He'd be like the 4th or 5th highest paid defenseman in the league right now. He's not even a true number 1. Seth Jones is not a true number 1. This guy has plummeted over the past couple of seasons. And you do that, not only do you give up way too much in a trade for him, but then you pay him $9.5 million per season. This trade in itself could cost Stan Bowman his job if it doesn't work out. And I don't think it's going to work out. His contract is bordering on as bad as Jeff Skinner's in Buffalo. And the trade that they used to get him is also absolutely horrendous. I have no idea what the Chicago Blackhawks are thinking here. Seth Jones is not what Stan Bowman thinks he is. What, because he can play 25, 26 minutes a night, that you think that he's automatically worth this? You can play him 25 minutes a night. He's not going to be good for 25 minutes a night. He hasn't been good in 2-3 years. I cannot believe this for Chicago. I cannot believe Chicago gave up this much and then signed him to that absolutely absurd contract. Seth Jones' contract is going to end up being one of the absolute worst in the entire league. $9.5 million. He's getting paid more than Alex Pietrangelo got in free agency last year. And Pietrangelo is a legitimate number 1 defenseman. Seth Jones is not. Seth Jones is plummeting in his career. They better hope that he does a complete 180 in Chicago, but I don't see it happening. I think this was an absolutely ridiculous move by the Chicago Blackhawks. And then right before the draft, we had another quick trade. The Carolina Hurricanes acquired a 2nd-round pick from the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange for defenseman Jake Bean. So obviously Carolina seems to be giving up on Jake Bean here. He's a guy that they drafted and have developed for a while now. Still a young defenseman. Really kind of got his first, good amount of NHL minutes this past season. And it seems like Carolina wasn't overly impressed because they ship him off to Columbus. I still think Jake Bean has a lot of upside potential. And I think that this was a really solid get for the Blue Jackets. This is a young guy with a lot of upside, and they gave up a 2nd for him. But Columbus had, 3 picks in the first round? Last night they got 3 picks in the first round, so they really didn't need that 2nd round pick. And I think Jake Bean is definitely worth more than a crapshoot draft pick, depending on who's available. So I like this move again for Columbus. I absolutely love what Columbus has been doing. I think the trades that they've made, the assets that they've been able to acquire have been absolutely phenomenal. And man, I think Jarmo Kekalainen is one of the best general managers in the NHL. The problem is he can't get people to stay. Like, he's great at acquiring assets. He's great at acquiring young talent, but he can't get people to stay. And that's the problem with Columbus. But when you look at the deals that the Blue Jackets have made under Kekalainen, looking for, when they're able to bring in draft picks and things like that, or flip veterans for draft picks, Kekalainen has done a phenomenal job of that. And, he's doing that again just in these 2 trades that are on the screen right now. I mean, 2 firsts and a 2nd and Boquist for Seth Jones, and then to get Jake Bean for a 2nd round pick that you didn't really need. I think Columbus has had a phenomenal day yesterday, and they've done a really good job. But those are the deals that have officially gone through. There's also been a lot of talk about Sam Reinhart going to the Florida Panthers. That deal doesn't appear to be official yet, as in the trade call and the actual paperwork has not been filed, which is why it's not listed on TSN. But obviously that trade definitely appears to be coming officially. It seems to be agreed to. It just hasn't been, the paperwork hasn't been filed yet. But Sam Reinhart from Buffalo looks like he's going to be going to the Florida Panthers as well. But that was just a recap of yesterday's trades. I don't know. I think some teams are wilding right now. I think some teams and some GMs are absolutely wilding right now. The Risto trade, the Seth Jones trade. I mean, talk about overpaying for mediocre defensemen. I don't see it. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we don't know for sure until we see these players play with their new teams if they were worth the price. But I don't think they're going to live up to what those trades cost the teams that acquired them. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon, merchandise store, donation link, and channel memberships down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys soon.